With your permission, I will start the session. Dr. Ramlachan, I hope you're there.
Yes, I'm here, sir. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. So with your permission, we'll start the session because rest people will keep on joining. So good evening, everybody, and we welcome you to the next session of our Friday Fundamentals, where, as per the philosophy of Bombay Management Association, of imparting knowledge and sharing experience and wisdom with our participants from the reputed speakers across the world. It is in the same series we are organizing today's webinar session. And today's speaker is Dr. Prem Lachan from South Africa. And the session is on addressing 21st century opportunities for management associations, a critical reflection on selected areas. Just to tell you about Dr. Prem, from delivering letters to delivering papers, Dr. Prem has had several positions at different institutions and organizations in South Africa for nearly 4 decades, a very rich experience which he carries along with him. Currently, he is an adjunct academic at the Cluster of Public Administration at Management College of Southern Africa. As an academician and leader, he pursues the idea of broadening footprints for a better world with a quest for eternal servant leadership, embracing the philosophy of in leading you serve and in serving you lead. Most notably, volunteered with the NPO PBO organization for the past 20 years, providing food to the poorest. Highly qualified with the doctorate in public administration and development management, his dissertation on globalization and impact on governance of local bodies, local authorities has been well received, and he has been awarded many recognitions. Dr. Prem has developed strong international connections and networks on internationalization of education through conferences, collaborative arrangements, and visitations. His inspiration for students and professionalism stems from his expert knowledge on the development of global relations and education, as well as a genuine desire to help others realize their maximum potential, which aligns his philosophy of serve the student, serve the universe, and has spoken at many national and international platforms around the world. He has played professional soccer. He's a fitness fanatic and a yoga and meditation student who believes that a healthy body equals a healthy mind. He presents a job profile. His present job profile includes research, collaboration, facilitation, and online teaching and learning for bachelor's and master's of public administration students. Dr. Prem, we welcome you to the program, and we thank you very much for sparing your time from your busy schedule for the benefit of our members. And I hand over the session to you for your deliberations, sir. We look forward to a rich experience from your session and takeaways.
Thank you for such a wonderful, warm, and inspirational message, and welcome to you, the Honorable Mr. Rajesh Sharma. Thank you so much. I always believe that we need to start in prayer. So let's pray, meditate, and be mindful of the people in our countries and globally for half a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. When in prayer, because we are peaceful, calm, and creative, our outputs and outcomes by way of critical thinking, problem solving, imagination, and innovativeness is very profound. So that's the reason that we are praying for the world. Ladies and gentlemen, life is a journey. So in our journey, we are boarding Mancosa Flight 2022 from King Shaka International, Durban, South Africa, to Mumbai International Airport in India. As we take off and go into autopilot, we are reminded of addressing the 21st century opportunities for management associations with critical reflections and selected areas. Simultaneously, the virtual teas and coffees are being served as we continue on our journey of presentation until we reach our destination. As co-pilots, we care about you, we care about your welfare and comfort in terms of how you feel and what zone are you in. Kindly indicate on the chat while we co-pilot this presentation together with BMA President, the respectable Mr. Rajesh Sharma. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to the strong legacy of the Bombay Management Association from the late Mr. Dandekar to presently respected Mr. Rajesh Sharma. Much appreciate you attending the human touch, the human touch of friendship. Mr. Sharma, together with the executive committee, the greater family of BMA, and all esteemed participants on this webinar. Good afternoon to Dr. Kavita Lahate for her facilitation, Ms. Lakshmi Gupta from Marketing, Ms. Supriya Patade from Operations, Ms. Andrea Paul from IT and Admin. It's exciting and stimulating to see that you have approximately 240 virtual lectures on the BMA channel comprising local and international speakers. Despite having a plethora of lectures, I feel really honored by your hospitality in my contributing to Friday Fundamentals. Friday Fundamentals, although important, reminds me of one of my grandma's profound storytelling around the Bola, where we had no electricity, so there was no load shedding. I think, Mr. Sharma, you'll be very keen to know that what we called stories then are now called conversations, dialogues, and engagements. Grandma's motivation was inspirational in us, tracing back our roots successfully to our ancestral village, the Gao in Bijrawan, Tikamgarh, Madhya Pradesh, India, through our great-grandfather who arrived in Durban some 130 years ago. Because of the lineage with our great-grandfather, it allowed us to apply for the OCI with lots of opportunity to explore. This is one of the fundamental stories shared by our grandma. Very creatively, BMA has strategically found a way to share the relevant reimagined tools of management, leadership, ethics, humanity, and environment to all its stakeholders who are here today, locally and globally, through online webinars during this period of uncertainty. This is a very proactive and educational in terms of learning as we are aspirants for life. As we serve the student, serve the universe, we learn from each other in the form of peer-to-peer collaborative learning. These fundamental shifts in the global education sector mean that educational environment will need to be upskilled and reskilled in order to meet increasingly complex demands. And while I talk about skilled and upskilled, this is precisely what respected Prime Minister Narendra Modi was saying. And I quote, that government was focusing on skilling, upskilling, and reskilling the 1.5 million citizens in 4 to 5 years, be it space, mapping, drones, gaming, and animation. Many such sectors have been opened for innovation. BMA seems to be the coordinating umbrella body who are acting as the custodians of public administration and management with the values, practices, and standards, collaborating with all stakeholders. They are pushing the role of Management Association for social change and justice. Excuse me. The critical reflection on selected areas will center around the impact and influence of everything beginning with you, followed by ethics, management, leadership, humanity, business, environment, and of course, nation building. Bombay Management Association, since its establishment in 1954, has pioneered efforts to help enhance managerial effectiveness and improve the standards of business management in India. And more so, it is widely regarded as the best management association in India, resulting in over and approximately 130,000 managers trained with the BMA. The All India Management Association has awarded BMA as the best local management award for several times since its inception. Ladies and gentlemen, what has this proven to us? That everything does begin with you. In this context, the BMA.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, your slide is not visible to the participants. It's visible to me as a host, but to the participants, one of the participants.
But Angela, I can see this. Somebody has put it in the chat box only. I can see the slide.
Okay.
I think somebody from South Africa only has put that the slide is not seen. But I think it is visible.
I also can view the slide.
Yes, sir, we can continue. We can continue. Sorry.
It's no problem at all. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Rajesh Sharma. So slide 4, which is where I am at the moment, and a philosopher by the name of Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. I'm going to take the example of Sadio Mane, who is a Senegalese professional footballer who plays as a forward for the Bundesliga club Bayern Munich and the Senegal national team. Ladies and gentlemen, Sadio Mane had this to say of people who thought that he was not smart. And I quote, "I resisted hunger. I worked in the fields. I survived wars. I played football barefoot. I had no education and many more things. But today, with what I earned from football, I can help my people. I build schools, a hospital. We offer clothes, shoes, food to people living in extreme poverty. In addition, I give 70 euros per month to all people in a very poor region in Senegal. I don't need to flaunt fancy cars, fancy villas, travel, let alone planes. I would rather have my people get a bit of what life has given me," I unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about Sadio Mane and where he believes that everything begins with you, everything begins with Sadio Mane, I must say to you that in 2019, Sadio Mane donated £250,000 to build a school in his hometown of Bambali in Senegal. And that didn't stop there. In 2021, he donated £500,000 towards the construction of a hospital in Bambali. Ladies and gentlemen, what is Sadio? Sadio Mane has localized the Sustainable Development Goals, of which there are 17, also known as the Global Goals, which were adopted by United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure by 2030 all people enjoying peace and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, are you convinced that everything begins with you in this context, Sadio Mane? Before we proceed, let's share slide 5 with you just as an extended think point and teaser. Ladies and gentlemen, you would see that this slide it talks to everything begins with you. Everything begins with an inner journey. Now, this inner journey, and I took the example of an egg. If an egg is broken by the outside force, life ends. If egg is broken, if broken by inside force, life begins, very much like the birth of a baby. great things always begin from the inside. So in terms of this slide, I just wanted to say it as a teaser for you so that you get an idea that all things begin from the inside. And also at the same time, one of the very critical moments here or think points here is that everyone is trying to change the world, but nobody is trying to change themselves. And that is by Leo Tolstoy. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to share that with you because I feel that that was important enough for me to tell you that. So, given his community work, Sadio Mane has emerged as somebody ethically smart. Talking about ethics, let's venture into our next critical area. And our next critical area, and this area is a very critical and at the same time, an area where nations of the world struggle with the benefits of an ethical long-term networking with leads from being ethically transparent and visible. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask 3 questions. Were we born ethical human beings and have learned by society to become unethical? Or were we born unethical and are striving to become ethical? How is it that we have so many unethical practices within nations, yet we have statutory guidelines and codes of conduct? As a suggestion and a way forward, ladies and gentlemen, same with these unethical practices. These 12 principles are designed to help countries review their institutions, systems, and mechanisms for promoting public service ethics. Principles to manage ethical challenges include, I quote, ethical standards for public service should be clear. Ethical standards should be reflected in legal framework. Ethical guidance should be available to public servants. Public servants should know their rights and obligations when exposing wrongdoing. The decision-making process should be transparent and open to scrutiny. Managers should demonstrate and promote ethical conduct. Public service conditions and management of human resources should promote ethical conduct. Adequate accountability mechanisms should be in place within the public service. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what are we doing here? If you want to make progress in any field of endeavor and looking at the principles above, you must discover a working basis that is universal in its application. And furthermore, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant concurs and says that everything you do must have a universal application. And you'll find that as I go along, I will give you think points and takeaways from this session. And this think point and takeaway for this selected area, ethics, is if you can control 2 things, your work ethic and your attitude towards anything, you will manage yourself. Talking about management, let's venture into our next critical area of management. Ladies and gentlemen, the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup will feature 32 teams in 8 groups of 4. 4 matches will be played each day during the group stages, which will run over a 13-day period, and it will progress to the round of 16. It is the greatest showpiece on earth, which showcases the best football talents of the world. They say sports unites most people of the world, and football is the most popular sport in the world. I am mindful of the ICC Cricket World Cup in Australia, where India has beaten the Netherlands and South Africa has beaten Bangladesh. By playing and working with people, we learn to care, communicate, and cooperate, very similar to the BMA values, which for me is great practice that should be shared with the world. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I learn from the BMA. In working towards a common shared vision, be it players in a sports team, employees in an association, or administrators in a FIFA World Cup team, there has to be a vision, mission, and objectives aligned to specialization, relevance, and mode of delivery. Positions and titles do not just happen within an association. There has to be nominations. Human beings make things happen. Like the recent nomination of Honorary Secretary Supriya Sachdeva for the BMA. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say to you that identity of titles and positions to meet objectives and goals of an association, team, or organization. Now, I'm going to do a little comparison here to positions in an association and positions in a football team. So you take the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper is the last line of defense, who controls the team from the back to keep the opponents from scoring. Ladies and gentlemen, the managing director and the CEO of BMA directs, controls, and oversees all organizational and administrative operations. Then we get the defender. The defenders deny penetration by the forwards who normally try to pass, dribble, and progress forward. The president of BMA, like our respected Mr. Rajesh Sharma, is the face of the association, the organization or institution who oversees overall leadership, policy making and planning, further defends and upholds and protects the association from competitors. Is that not true, Mr. Rajesh Sharma?
Absolutely.
If I can go on.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. The midfielders, ladies and gentlemen, are players that keep the defensive and offensive lines connected and moving smoothly. Middle managers in associations and organizations have titles of directors, deputy directors, departmental heads, and chief supervisors, and they form the link between the top management and lower management in keeping them connected in achieving their predetermined objectives. Do you see the correlation? The forwards, ladies and gentlemen, they score goals. They create scoring chances and assist for other players going forward. So what happens in an organization? Reception and global front desk assistance with the welcome and introduction of new clients, students or customers, which networks through the supply chain of the organization. So ladies and gentlemen, just like the football team has internal and external service providers within the management of a football team, like the president, general manager, trainer, coach, owner, mind doctor, PRO, and treasurer, the BMA culture calls for collaboration to achieve goals within the outside of the association to deliver value to partners. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would like to go into the value of oneness. And when I look at the teams and I look at the association, this really comes close to our hearts. Oneness is the ability to see beauty everywhere, in everything, and in everyone. Each player in a team, association has individual talents, skills, and knowledge. But working together in uniting and sharing their individual skills creates a dynamic team. So we are aligning oneness to collaboration for the greater good of the team. And the second one, life is an art of connecting to everything and attaching to nothing. Within this concept of management, it is connecting or collaborating with employees, players from teams and associations interdepartmentally, but with the sole purpose of detaching yourself from power, greed, and materialism. Ladies and gentlemen, Qatar is leading the world in FIFA World Cup 2022. Talking about leadership, let's visit our next critical area on leadership. Somebody that some of you would really be familiar with. As this is a global webinar with participants knowing respected former president, Dr. Avul Pakir Jainul Abdin Abdul Kalam. Respected Abdul Kalam was one of India's most distinguished scientists. He was an aerospace engineer, professor, and chancellor. He was also, but before his term as the Indian president, he worked as an aeronautical engineer. This may be information that people from India would already know. He was also responsible for the development of India's first satellite. He is popularly known as the Missile Man of India for his work on the development of ballistic missiles and space rocket technology. He has the unique honor of receiving honorary doctorates from 30 universities and countries 3 highest civilian honors as well. The former president, a very keen supporter of mine, has become popular as the people's president. But sadly, ladies and gentlemen, he passed away on July 27, at the age of 83 in Shillong in India. But ladies and gentlemen, what did he leave behind? He left a wonderful legacy. And that legacy that he left behind, and one of the things that he left behind, in leading you serve, and in serving you lead, a primary example of a true leader. An example of some leaders that served in their respective areas in this way as well are Rabindranath Tagore, Nobel Peace Award in Literature; Chief Albert Luthuli, first person in Africa to receive Nobel Peace Prize for advocating non-violence, resistance to racial discrimination; Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Nobel Peace Prize as human rights activist; Nelson Mandela, Nobel Peace Prize for the peaceful termination of apartheid regime and for laying the foundation for the new democratic South Africa. And yes, in 2015, Kailash Satyarthi, Nobel Peace Prize for being a social reformer who campaigned against child labor and advocated universal right to education. Ladies and gentlemen, Mahatma Gandhi was nominated 5 times for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1937, 1938, 1939, 1947, and 1948, but sadly was never awarded. Few days before he could get awarded, he was assassinated. And he inspired, some of the leaders were inspired by Gandhi, who were Barack Obama, Aung San Suu Kyi, the Burma's freedom fighter, Nelson Mandela himself, the Dalai Lama, John Lennon, Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, Al Gore, to name but a few, and Rabindranath Tagore. Ladies and gentlemen, to continue with the former president, in 2004, respected former president of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, he visited South Africa on one of his many visits across the world. He was hosted by the University of KwaZulu-Natal and in South Africa, where he brought gifts and reference books for further research. But he was under heavy guard in terms of security protocols. Before taking the stage at the University of KwaZulu-Natal's main hall, postdoctoral fellows and international students from India raised and waved the Indian flag and greeted him by saying, Jai Hind, which means victory to India. He was really surprised and commented that he was so happy to see researchers and students from India at UKZN. During the question and answer session, after hearing him speak excitedly, I had asked him information on invisible leadership from his book, Evolution of Enlightened Societies, which he gladly sent via the office of the president, right? And I asked him what was his business here in South Africa. He said to me very kindly that he was en route to support South Africa at the UN Security Council. Ladies and gentlemen, he was in many ways a humanitarian and philanthropist. Talking about humanitarian, let's roll over to Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman. Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman is the chief, is the member, not a member, he's the founder of Gift of the Givers. And he looked at the spiritual basis behind the Gift of the Givers Foundation. And a little history on Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman. After receiving his message from his spiritual leader in Istanbul, Turkey, and at the age of 30, the Gift of the Givers founder, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, immediately heeded the calling and continued to do so to this day. Following that life-changing day in 1992, Dr. Sooliman returned to South Africa, left a flourishing career as a medical doctor, and established the Gift of the Givers Foundation. Since its inception in 1992, the organization has been responsible for delivery of life-saving goods and on-the-ground support for innumerable people, collectively valued at some 3.2 billion rand in more than 43 countries across the globe, including South Africa. The Gift of the Givers Foundation is the largest disaster response non-governmental organization of African origin on African continent. It works to unite people with a common vision to make a real and telling difference by serving mankind for the greater good. Assistance is provided unconditionally, assisting the needy irrespective of human or the animal, race, religion, color, class, political affiliation, or geographical location. He is driven by the same basic principles that led to his him becoming a medical doctor: respect, care, professionalism, and dedication. But there's something else that fuels Dr. Suleiman's passion for humanitarianism: the solid belief in common humanity that unites us. His fervor for and belief in mankind is what motivates and energizes him, and the reason is his faith. His sense of community is felt through his endeavors with the Gift of the Givers. Gift of the Givers restores the hope and dignity of most vulnerable in their time of need, rebuilding prosperous communities and empowering leaders of tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Suleiman is a global icon who is strong, positive, and spiritual in all respects. The world is his environment. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about environment, let's visit our next critical area. Our next critical area is Dr. Kumi Naidoo, a South African who is a human rights, social justice, and environmental activist. Kumi Naidoo was the first African to lead Greenpeace, the international environmental group serving as its international executive director from 2009 to 2015. Kumi Naidoo was international executive director of Greenpeace and Secretary General of Amnesty International from 2018 to 2020. He has been the global ambassador for Africa's Rising for Justice, Peace, and Dignity. Kumi Naidoo is one of South Africa's anti-apartheid activists, a great follower of Gandhi, and a leader in civil disobedience. In our time, has been working tirelessly for the protection of our planet, from the Arctic to the Antarctic. He has reiterated Gandhi's words: "Be the change you want to see." Kumi Naidoo is amongst the many today who uses civil disobedience as a powerful weapon against justice in his different form. As he says, and I quote, "The power of civil disobedience as a strategy lies in its moral authority." If we look at the world, we will be sad to see the destruction of our forests, the pollution of our oceans, our rivers, our land. How do we make the world a habitual place for human and non-human existence, for our children and our grandchildren, who are the future? For Gandhi, creating a world of love, peace, and justice includes respect and reverence for creation in all its aspects, both human and non-human. This is the world we inhabit, and we are called to be good stewards and carers of the planet, which is our collective home, which we share with different forms of life. Ladies and gentlemen, this information above was given to me courtesy of Dr. Betty Govenden. Kumi's business is the environment. Talking about business, let's move to our next slide, our next selected area, slide 12. What do business communities want in employees? Character and competence, or character and or competence? Well, let's describe character. Character is a high character exhibits integrity and abundant mentality. Competence, knowledge and ability in a given area. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you an example of character. Example of character is the Great Wall of China, which is 21,196 kilometers long. During the first 100 years of its existence, the Chinese were invaded thrice. And every time the hordes of enemy infantry had no need of penetrating or climbing over the wall. Why? Because each time they bribed the guards and came through the doors. The Chinese built the wall, but forgot the character building of the wall guards. Thus, the building of human character comes before the building of anything else. So the question we also want to ask, examples of business ethics. The examples of business ethics falls under data protection, customer prioritization, workplace diversity, whistleblower protection, corporate transparency. What are the best business ethic examples? As we have just mentioned, one of the best business ethics example is how motivated and content employees are. What is important for a business to be ethical? A business is known for its high ethical principles, can gain respect and elevate the quality of its brand. Why are good ethics so important for business? Ethic improves your business reputation. Why is it important to have an ethical reputation? When you have a reputation for consistently being ethical in how you source and build products and treat employees and customers and community, more people will want to do business with you. Why is social media ethics important for your business? Even social media ethics is important for your reputation. Basic principles for the startup of business. Spatial layout of the factory floor. Businesses must be seamless. Blueprint of processes carefully thought out. Entrepreneurial spirit to maximize effective machinery in a seamless fashion. Timing, ethical sourcing, thereby minimizing the risk. Maintain profit margin. Other ways to develop employees through collaborative means and approach. Long-term corporate social responsibility aligned to marketing strategy and governance. Staff development hours. And that is also tied up with peer-to-peer collaborative learning. Ladies and gentlemen, as I move into slide 13, which would be a very familiar slide to you, it's a reimagined values that help you get better. And I do not have to say this to you, people of BMA, that you have the different skills of leadership, insight, visioning, execution, networking, learning culture, and aligning to the value system of Bombay management culture. Aligning to your culture is the message that has been sent by the respected Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I quote, ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday said India was guiding the world in the fourth industrial revolution. Praising the role of digital technology in changing the lives of people of the country, the PM said India had eliminated queues by going online to provide different services. He was speaking after launching a digital initiative aimed at enhancing the accessibility of technology, streamlining service delivery to ensure ease of living and giving a boost to startups. The initiatives were unveiled at the Digital India Week 2022 held in Gandhinagar. Modi said, through Digital India, India had exemplified how revolutionary the correct use of technology is for the growth of humanity. India was a victim of this during the third industrial revolution, but today we can proudly say that India is guiding the world in the fourth industrial revolution. India had fought 75 years ago with its freedom fighters and revolutionaries for independence, just as how it revolutionizes the correct use of technology and the growth of humanity. India is still fighting, but this time for a national and global cause. Modi also said, India wants to become a chip maker from a chip taker. Investment is rapidly increasing in India to increase production of semiconductors. And some recent initiatives by the president. The launch of the 5G services, which is Digital India, Startup India, and Make in India. Ratan Tata, appointed as the new trustee of the Prime Minister's CARES Fund. PM releases wild cheetahs, which are becoming extinct from Namibia in Africa, in Kuno National Park, MP, in Madhya Pradesh, India. This is where he is looking at sustaining the production of cheetahs. And information coming through as well. Tata was the first company in India to start the Provident Fund for their employees, much before government made it a mandate. Sir Jamsetji offered his people shorter working hours, well-ventilated workspaces, a creche for young mothers, pension fund, and leave gratuity before it became statutory in the West. Ladies and gentlemen, it's exciting to note that PM Modi's proactive reforms have put India back on track, have put India's economy back on track. PM Modi remains the world's most popular leader, given an approval rating of 75%, highest among global leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, I now go on to women should be celebrated every day. Women's right is a human right, and human right is a woman's right. But as I look at the picture, I am very happy to see that the Indian women are dominating the world's skies. In India, we have 12.4%, and as opposed to 7.4%, 6.9%, 5.9%, and 4.7% in the other countries. And I look at this and I say to myself, wow, this is such a good, forward-thinking country that is also in line, that is also enhancing its women. Mr. Rajesh Sharma, I also said to you that I have now elevated Miss Paul to the, can you see the picture, sir?
I can see the picture.
And you see our Miss Paul in the picture as well, right?
No.
Do you see the picture of Indian women dominating the world's
Yes,
skies?
yes, that I see.
You see a lady with a cap there? That's our Miss Paul, who has been elevated.
Okay.
Okay, as we move along into the next session, into the next slide. This picture, ladies and gentlemen, I think, if I may say, that the collaboration, partnerships, workshops, and conferences that BMA has locally and done globally is phenomenal and ongoing, which ties in with the value of the BMA culture, something that everybody could learn from, and it's relevant, thereby enhancing collaborative intelligence, mobile mindsets, and cultural agility, which is very similar to the honoris United Universities of which Mancosa is a member. We are also connected by the Indian Ocean, as you will see later. The relationship between India and Africa have long historical roots. For many centuries, the people of the two parts of the world have interacted at the levels of economics, politics, and social cultural practices. Economically, there have been trade sanctions in both natural and human resources. The India-Africa relation started in 1947 to the present. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru made it his government's priority to create friendly, cooperative, and mutually constructive relationship between his government and those of the African countries upon their gaining of independence. In the decades after independence, the Indian government offered scholarships to thousands of African students to study in Indian universities. Many went to the University of New Delhi and Bombay University. The funds for such scholarships were generated from the India Technical and Economic Cooperation Program. This helped to reduce the illiteracy levels in Africa. India now has embassies, high commissions, and consulates across Africa's continent of 54 countries. The current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, champions the Indian government's foreign policy towards Africa called multi-alignment foreign policy. Various multinational companies of India or African origin operate in India and Africa. As technology changes have ensued, many of these now operate in areas of IT, farm machinery, and transportation. Recent developments in that is the BRICS national plan to create a new international reserve currency. So as I move into the next slide, I want to pay homage and tribute to all freedom fighters of whom we know, and some, of course, we don't know. Freedom fighters like Vallabhji Patel, Bhagat Singh, Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Lakshmi Bai, and Velaima. They are just some of the freedom fighters that I have researched and come across. The legacy of the 75 years of India should be celebrated by one and all in India. After centuries of British presence in India, the 1947 Indian Independence Act was passed, creating the new state of Pakistan and granting India its independence. The Indian independence movement began during World War I and was led by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who advocated for a peaceful and non-violent end to British rule. Ladies and gentlemen, India is one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a kaleidoscope variety and rich cultural heritage. And one is actually very happy to note that the anthem of India is recognized by UNESCO as the best anthem in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to the conclusion, I just wanted to have a drink of water. I thank you for that. Yeah, so in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, you would see that I have the picture of the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. And in conclusion, I just want to say that when we look at us as human beings and we want to promote the lives of other people, I think everything begins with you. And when we talk about that, we actually we link it up to peer-to-peer collaborative learning, whereby we learn from each other and we are always wanting to teach others as well as learn from them. When we mean sports unite all people of the world, I deliberately said this because I think sport does unite people of the world, including football and cricket, as I mentioned earlier on. The Bombay management culture is doing a fantastic and beautiful job in terms of sharing their culture. And I mentioned this earlier, that you should make that Bombay management culture into a universal application or a universal tool for many other companies and students to also look at as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as well, we need to celebrate our women. And as we come to nation building, excuse me, nation building, I think it's one of the key things that is the theme. Most probably all selected areas that I've chosen is tended towards nation building. And yes, of course, there should be further research on selected areas in terms of nation building. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, and before I come back to you, in conclusion, I would like to leave you with a message from the former president of the Republic of South Africa. And I quote Nelson Mandela in his book, The Long Walk to Freedom, who says, "I've walked that long road to freedom, but I've discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. But I can rest only for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not yet ended." Mr. Rajesh Sharma, as we touch down at the Mumbai International Airport, I see a familiar face in Mr. Rajesh Sharma waiting at immigration. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Prem Lachan, sorry, for a wonderful and very touching presentation, I will say, and the journey from South Africa to Mumbai, which you have taken. The examples which you have given are very unique, and some of the very, very inspiring personalities which you have touched upon. So thank you very much for this presentation and this speech. I look forward to any questions anybody in the audience has. I'll be happy to take those questions in the chat box if somebody can put it. But I have before we move on to the audience, I have a thought, Doctor, if you can help me clear, because you have talked about the very, very inspiring personalities, and also very, people who have been exceptional in their ethics. And you have given example of Ratan Tata and Dr. Abdul Kalam, which we look up to. Now, many of our members are young generation, young managers, or students who are, because many institutes are our members and they come to our programs. What is the message you want to give to inculcate that ethical practices as they enter into the corporate world? Because whatever we teach them in the management colleges, and when they reach the corporate world, the real life is absolutely different, and they face a lot of challenges to maintain that kind of ethics in their real life. So if you can share your thoughts on that, that will be a great help.
Thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. I always believe, and maybe sometimes we are just too honest to answer questions like this. But I think, Mr. Sharma, is that we learn from our generations. If our previous generations that have taught us the values of life, the values of, like, for example, if I take the grandmother actually is a person that has, well, everything begins with the grandmother. She maintains the discipline, which is the ethical values. She also, at the same time, is a leader of the pack. She manages the household. She actually teaches you about the environment. So if there's an ongoing kind of generational handover, if I could say, to the previous generation. But I must say too, in my classes, in terms of ethical practice, I think what's very important is that you need to look at the mindset. These days, ladies and gentlemen, the mindset of our individuals, of our children, need to be absolutely on top. And my very reach out is that at the foundation levels of your journey, at the foundation levels, when you are born between 1 and 6, that's when your mindset that you take shape, because of the personality and the character that you'll shape, and at the same time you are exposed to a certain kind of environment. So when you are now going to the next stage of your formal education, at those schools, my belief is that's where, at the foundation levels of all initiatives, we have to inculcate the question of true belief, joy, understanding, faith, devotion, happiness, hope, truth, justice, simplicity, harmony, and at the same time, integrity. At that stage, we need to do that at the foundation level, because discipline at the moment is gone out the window for many of us. And at the same time, you have to integrate. If you're a student, you have to integrate content with experiential learning all the time. You have to engage in discussion around all the time. And with children and with youngsters, especially, we have to talk to them all the time, because I must say, excuse me, that we learn from youngsters and youngsters learn from us. The youngsters have lots to say. They have lots to give, but are we listening to them? We have to listen to them as to what they're saying, and they will listen to you. And that's the journey that I think you should follow, in terms of having to have that kind of close bonding, that close kind of relationship, like how India has with South Africa, but it must be a close relationship at a foundation level. All foundation levels need that kind of interaction, that kind of creating the space to do that. So that's where I would leave you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience? Will be, because there are a lot of comments coming in the chat box. People have really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
If anybody has any questions, because I think your presentation was so practical and so apt.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate your comments there, Mr. Sharma.
Yes, Nadira wants to ask. Nadira, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma.
Yes.
Dr. Ramlachan, just on listening to you, you're such a breath of fresh air because you have touched the ground and you've reached the stars in one breath. So by you bringing about the synergy that we need at foundational level, I think the only way this can happen is when we have our primary school, secondary school, and tertiary schools, the tertiary institutes amalgamating in terms of that Ubuntu. You said, I've climbed the highest mountain, or I've reached the hills, and I still have much more to go. So Dr. Ramlachan, I can see you've really researched, but I think in terms of this synergy, I think we need to work with the higher institutions as well as the schools. Thank you very much for a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nadira Maraj. Thank you so much for that comment.
Yes, Molly, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Thank you very much to Mrs. Sharma, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to listen to this very inspiring presentation. I just want to also take off from where Dr. Nadira Maraj left off in terms of ethics, and this is such a critical area. And she spoke about primary schools, and what if we were to include that as a module? So in the primary schools, that ethics, like for example, if you look at Japan, at the foundation phase, children spend an entire year just learning about manners. And that it becomes so deeply embedded in the whole psyche of the child. So what if we were to have ethics globally, I'm saying, and it's not an impossible thing, and philosophy as part of our curriculum in the primary school, in our secondary school, and more importantly, as you said, you spoke about young people going into the workplace. We can also have it in higher education institutes as well. And then by continuously embedding this, what will happen when young people enter into the economic activity? This already becomes part, and Dr. Ramlachan alluded to character building. So it's embedded in their character. And I think that will be an excellent springboard to move forward. This is just my suggestion and my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Molly Ramlachan. I really appreciate your comment, and at the same time giving us a way forward in terms of including ethics into the primary school. But I want to go one step further there, Mr. Sharma, with your permission.
Yes, sir.
So I would think that ethics and governance and philosophy, they're like 3 peas in a pod. I'm thinking that these are concepts that we can actually add into the very foundation of any department. Now, why I say this? At the in Fiji, what they are doing actually is that they have included, and this is just an example, I'm picking up from Molly Ramlachan, what you're saying. In Fiji, what they've done is they have included in their curriculums, the modules on ethics, governance, and not philosophy, but I'm saying ethics and governance. So if a student registers for a first-year degree at that university, that student, it's compulsory and mandatory for that student to register for ethics and governance, right? So they did this over a 10-15-year period in Fiji, because mostly all those guys, the students that were registered had done these courses of ethics and governance, and most of them, as youngsters, will then be employed into government, into the Fijian government. And what did they find? They found that the question of ethics and government was so prevalent in the Fijian government departments that the question of corruption and fraud had subsided to a great deal. And whilst they did that, they also added to that, if you had found somebody that frauded anybody, you were given a reward. So that was an additional initiative for the students who are now government employees. So that is something I just wanted to add to the ethics and governance discussion. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh Sharma.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments or queries or doubts which Dr. Ramlachan can address? We will welcome that. We have our very senior member, Mr. Indranil Ghosh in the group. Indranilji, you have been very, you would like to ask any question or express your thoughts? I think he's on mute. If there are no questions, then I think, Johnson.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes, sir?
Uday Johnson has a question. Yes.
Yes. Uday Johnson, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Thank you so much. An inspirational and exciting talk, and just going back from South Africa, and I'm not sure how the link that exists between the Bombay Management Association and Honoris United University, because I do see some similarities in values, and it's quite exciting for me. And it's my first time in this forum, so I'm not sure if there's something you could say in regards to that.
Thank you so much for that question, Dr. Johnson. Yes, Mancosa is a member of the Honoris United Universities. And I did mention a little about the Honoris United University in my presentation. They have collectively, with all member institutions, 70,000 students that are across approximately 14 member institutions. And with the result, there are students that are moving from one institution to another through collaboration, through partnerships, through linkages. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is on the African side, where this is a Pan-African organization that has put together these institutions, and these institutions are very well-known and respected and registered institutions that are attached to the Honoris United Universities. So what is the philosophy as well of the Honoris United Universities is that they believe strongly in collaborative intelligence, mobile mindsets, right? And at the same time, they also believe in the question of coming together and trying to do things together in an educational manner, and to try to get everybody involved in the greatest thing, and that is education. So Honoris United Universities, we are a member of, and we also at the same time would like to open our arms to the BMA in terms of any form of collaboration or partnership in terms of who we belong to as a member as well. Thank you.
Sure, Doctor. We will post this meeting. We'll be in touch and we will explore those collaborations in the meeting. Is there any thought or any other we can share? Or yes, Dr. Johnson, you can unmute and ask. Uday Johnson, yes.
Oh, no, thank you. I was just giving a thumbs up there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, fine. Sorry. I thought it's a raise of hand. Dr. Prem, thank you very much for a wonderful and inspiring presentation, and also sharing your rich experience with our participants. And this presentation will be uploaded on our website also, which we'll be sharing with everyone. And people, every day people watch these presentations at their leisure time. Look forward to be in touch with you, and thank you very much. I thank your team from South Africa, who has been critical in making this presentation successful. And I also thank the Bombay Management Association backend team, Angela, Supriya, who have been instrumental in making this event a success event. We look forward to bringing more and more such speakers from across the world for the benefit of our members. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you.
it's actually sad to say goodbye, but I think as you've seen from the last photograph with that handshake, we are not going to be letting go. You can see by the handshake of two countries. So thank you, Mr. Rajesh Sharma. Thank you,
Yes.
all listeners. Thank you, webinar participant, and thanks to my great friend beside me here, who's my IT person, Shabolan Gulzar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Angela, you can stop the recording.
Yes, sir.